Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 7 of our masterclass series here on the Persolaise YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. If you are watching live, feel free to add your comments and questions to the chat as we're going along, and do also tell us where it is that you're watching from. You know, I always enjoy finding out where it is that you're watching from. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, the masterclass series is where we step away from things like interviews about brands, interviews with brands, step away from perfume reviews and focus a little bit more closely on issues that are related to perfumery as an industry. And what we've been doing over the course of the last few months on the series is focusing on particular ingredients. And today we're going to be doing that as well. We're going to be focusing on a particular brand of a particular ingredient. But we've got a different person in the studio from our usual guest. So if I start by bringing him in straight away. Now, this person is no stranger to the Persolaise studio, because a lot of you will immediately recognize Renaud Salmon, the Chief Creative Officer at Amouage, who is joining us live right now from Muscat in Oman. Renaud, thank you very much for giving up your time today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Darius, and hello, everyone. Beautiful day, quite hot in Muscat.
Okay, that's the kind of comment that gets you kicked off the channel, because it is most definitely not a beautiful day here in England. We're waiting for a storm to break this terrible, terrible mugginess. We've got people watching from Brooklyn. Rima says hello from Dubai. Caroline says hi from Dublin. And we have also got a surprise coming for you in just a few minutes, because we haven't just got Renaud in our studio today, but I'm just going to keep you waiting a few minutes longer to find out who else we've got. But if we start with you, Renaud, we're talking specifically about Omani frankincense, but not just any Omani frankincense. We're talking about frankincense that grows in a particular region of Oman, on a particular site, actually. The site is called the Wadi Dawkah. It's a UNESCO World Heritage site, and I'm sure we'll find out very, very soon why it's a UNESCO World Heritage site. And there is a very, very interesting, very fascinating and kind of lengthy story that brings us to this point now, where I thought it would be fascinating to discuss this in a masterclass series and to bring the story to the attention of my audience. But maybe if we start at the beginning, where does your association with Wadi Dawkah begin? So put us in the picture. You were the creative director at Amouage for a while, and what made you think that you wanted to focus a bit more of your work on Omani frankincense?
I think we signed the contract with the Omani authorities and UNESCO close to a year ago, so it's quite recent. The partnership with Wadi Dawkah and UNESCO, and the idea behind that partnership is the following. So Amouage has been known to use frankincense from Oman in its different fragrances over the years and in its different creations. We don't only use frankincense from Oman, we use frankincense from really all around the world in a way. However, the quality from Oman is the one that is quite specific to Amouage. And until very recently, we were actually purchasing frankincense from different suppliers in Oman. And the idea at some point was, well, what if we were to produce our own quality of frankincense ourselves? And if you're a bit familiar with the way the fragrance industry works, usually perfume brands or a perfume house like Amouage would typically not produce its own ingredients itself. Usually you would either acquire a concentrate directly from a perfume house, or you would actually acquire, most of the time, ingredients from suppliers in their oil form, for example. And you would blend them together according to the formula. However, it felt right actually to go a bit deeper into the approach and for Amouage to try to produce its own very specific quality of frankincense ourselves. So we reached out to the Omani authorities to try to understand how to acquire a piece of land where we could find frankincense, or where we could grow frankincense in the future, and so on. And that's where actually we understood that there was, I would say, an agreement possible to get access to one of the best quality of frankincense in Oman, and to in a way get also the management of a site that is more than a production site of frankincense, because it's a UNESCO World Heritage site.
So in a way, that, I mean, that site was already there. You were just, I suppose, lucky that it was brought to your attention and you were able to acquire it.
Well, lucky, yes, because it was probably the right time. However, I mean, it comes with big responsibilities. So it's, in a way, it's a gift, but it's a big responsibility for Amouage, because I guess it's the case for every single country in the world. When you have UNESCO World Heritage sites, those are important at country level, but there is a big cahier des charges from UNESCO, and if you don't meet actually specific criteria, your country actually could lose at some point that UNESCO site. So the responsibility of Amouage is actually to make sure that that UNESCO site is going to be developed according to the criteria of UNESCO. So they have very specific criteria in terms of tourism, in terms of protection of the heritage, in terms of involvement of local communities, and so on and so on. However, at the same time, we want to make sure also that we progress on our initial objective, which is to source and to craft the best quality of frankincense that we can use in our fragrances.
Okay, thank you very much for that for the moment. I think maybe we can sort of bring our two hidden guests into the studio and kind of get the conversation flowing. But before we started the broadcast, I said to my guests that I wasn't sure how many people would be watching from North America. Little did I know, I need to put this comment up. Nubianette, regular viewer, says, "Good morning from California. It's 6 a.m., but I love frankincense." I think that's a good enough reason to join. Okay, thank you for the moment, Renaud. But let us bring to the stage now what you've got on your screens here, folks. On the left-hand side of your screen, you've got Matt Wright, and on the right, you have got Dominique Roques, who are joining us live from Salalah, which is also in Oman, in case you weren't aware. Hello to you, gents. How are you both doing?
Great. Thank you very much. Very happy to join.
Thank you very much for giving up your time as well. Now, I'm going to ask Matt and Dominique to introduce themselves in a moment, especially Matt, who is a little bit of a mystery man, who comes to us with that much of a biography. But Dominique Roques, if you Google him right now, you will find that he is let us say, has got a few years of experience in the perfume industry under your belt, Dominique. I think something in the region of 3 decades. At one point, you were head of sourcing at none other than Firmenich. So you know a thing or two about ingredients. And you're also the author of a book called, or at least its English title is, In Search of Perfumes, A Lifetime Journey to the Sources of Nature's Scents. So I'm guessing there's very, very little you don't know about ingredients. But is there anything else from your biography that you think we should be aware of, Dominique?
No. That's perfect. Let's keep it this way, and let's keep it at 3 decades. Time stops.
Okay, that's a deal. And Matt, how about you? What's how does your story join up with Amouage's?
Yeah, sure. So, firstly, I'm delighted to be with you today. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. So I've arguably got the best job in the entire world. I head up Amouage's project at Wadi Dawkah in southern Oman. I spent most of my professional life in the Arabian Peninsula or Northern Arabia, Afghanistan. I read Arabic at university, which included a year in Syria, and really this kind of responsibility that Renaud has given to develop a UNESCO World Heritage site and try and provide the world's most sustainable, ethical, and transparent source of frankincense with the endless support and guidance of Dominique, is a treasure of an experience.
See, this is where the nosy bit of me kicks in and thinks I need to remind myself that this is a masterclass series on Omani frankincense, because of course, same as everybody else watching, we're all thinking, so what were you doing in Afghanistan and what were you doing in the Arabian? But maybe we have to save that one for another episode. But you called yourself, you said you're heading up the project. What's your actual title then?
I'm the head of Wadi Dawkah.
So what does that entail? What do you actually do then?
So essentially, I would probably look upon my role as really very much implementation focused. So trying to find solutions, locally, all engagement with key local national partners, and really trying to find a way of turning Renaud's imaginative, differentiated, remarkable vision as to what we're trying to achieve into reality. Renaud, would you broadly agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're managing so many things, because managing obviously a UNESCO site is a big job. That, it includes, and you can probably detail that, but protecting the trees, growing the trees, engaging with the local communities, finding actually people to tap the trees, to harvest, and so there are many things, and obviously also developing everything from an architectural point of view and so on. So the role of Matthew is critical in that project.
And hopefully we'll get to the nitty-gritty of some specifics about some of the things that you've done and maybe some of the problems that you faced. Maybe you could tell us some interesting stories. But Dominique, let's go back to you. So at what point were you brought into this project, and what's your role? What's your involvement going to be?
Okay, so I will not surprise you in telling you that the perfume industry is a small world where we tend to know each other sooner or later and bump into each other. So I've known Renaud for quite a while, and we had very nice relationships. And the more he was talking about, on one side, the development and the growth of Amouage, and on the second side, this Wadi Dawkah. When we touched Wadi Dawkah, I was completely overwhelmed by the depth of the project. So when he said that he would welcome a little backup on the expertise around trees, frankincense trees more precisely, I jumped into the boat because to make it clear to the people listening to us, I guess most of you know that the frankincense is probably one of the earliest, if not the oldest ingredient in perfumery. We're talking about 5,000 years old. And what is fantastic is that being either on one side of the sea, on the south, on the Horn of Africa, in Somalia or Somaliland, or in Oman or Yemen, the trees are pretty similar, the problems are similar, and the way it is still tapped and produced today, the resin, is exactly the same way it was done at the time of the Queen Hatshepsut from Egypt. The tools are the same. So it's just mind-blowing and extraordinary. And I think as a whole, I really feel that we all have a responsibility in making sure that this story is going to continue, is not going to stop. And you may have very well heard also of all the threats. There's been a lot of press coverage about the potential fact that frankincense trees were overtapped and in danger of disappearing. So the fact that in Oman, it's absolutely not the case, and that there is a project which really intends to depict exactly what is and what should be a sustainable way of harvesting trees, producing resin, and then distilling, and having done all this in one spot, really where the trees grow. Well, this is fantastically exciting.
Thank you, Renaud. I know what you're dying to do. Renaud has got one of the tools, hasn't he? Right. Would you like to show us the tool?
I was thinking about it because, so this is called, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, your Arabic is better than mine. Mankaf, correct? Yes.
Yes.
I mean, what I find fascinating is that on the one hand, we are talking about at Amouage, creating a smart forest or an intelligent forest and so on, where we would track like the growth of the trees with QR codes and everything and so on. And then on the other hand, we still have this tool that was described, by Dominique as it has not changed. I think it has been there for so long. It has been used by people to tap the trees, and it's a very functional tool. You just put your hand in it, and then the way you tap the tree, actually, you don't hurt your fingers because you have a protection, and you make sure that you tap the tree actually in the very superficial part of the bark, so that you never actually hurt the tree and you don't go deep in the tree, but you literally remove the let's say the superficial skin of the bark actually in order to get that precious sap.
Okay, thank you. So, Renaud, sorry if this is a kind of obvious question, but why is that area of Oman a UNESCO World Heritage Site?
So it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site because it's part of a broader actually site that is called the Land of Frankincense.
Okay.
So the Land of Frankincense is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that, if I'm not wrong, comprises of 4 different locations that played a key role historically on the frankincense trail. So one of them was a trading port for frankincense. One of them was, if I'm not wrong, a storing place for frankincense, and so on. And then Wadi Dawkah was historically the place actually where the trees were growing in abundance, where frankincense was harvested. So this was literally the starting point and the beginning actually of the frankincense trail. That would start from Oman, then go through Yemen, go through Saudi Arabia, and then ultimately reach Europe and so on. So this is the historical importance of this site. It's a site that used to contain, and Matthew, I think you might be more accurate with the numbers, but probably above 10,000 trees. And the number reduced a little bit. It's still quite significant. I don't know, Matthew, if you have the latest number, but the objective is to really get it back to the full capacity of the site.
And how long has it actually been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site?
I don't know.
Okay, no, well, we could probably look that up, but it's definitely something that's been the case for a while. Okay,
it has been the case for a while. The requirement from UNESCO is actually for it to remain a World Heritage Site. I think UNESCO requires to have enough visitors visiting the site every year, and obviously it needs to be protected, and it needs also to be relatively cohesive and coherent with with the original site. So this is the responsibility of Amouage. So a sustainable development, but also some kind of sustainable touristic development in order to make sure that it gets visited by people.
Okay, thank you. Now, Dominique, we have heard a lot about Omani frankincense being, such an amazing superior variety. A lot of the time, it's Amouage that tell us that it's the best variety and the superior variety. and I know that you are here as a kind of Amouage representative. But if it is so great, what is it that makes it wonderful? Why, what makes it so special?
Okay, so there are wonderful frankincenses from several places in the world. Let's put it that way. In perfumery, we use only the resin of one very specific tree, which is Boswellia. In Somalia and Somaliland, they call it Boswellia carteri. In Oman, it's called Boswellia sacra. I won't go into the debate. There's long discussions to decide whether it's the same tree or different trees. Even if they're different trees, they're cousin trees. So you will find similitudes in the smell of the oils that result from both sides. But it's true that the Omani oils, and then of course the means of distillation, how you distillate, how you fractionate, what do you keep from the original flow of resin. From Oman, they are very, very high level, sometimes pretty unique, managing to blend, the what perfumers often call the darkness of the product, the smokiness, even before you burn it, and the high notes that are really going directly to your soul, more citrusy, more lighter, and the combination of the two, the lightness of the top notes and the fundamental of the resin in the darkness is what makes the product magic, and the Omani qualities are absolutely superb.
So in a way, it's actually a question of complexity almost, isn't it? That it's very rich. The olfactory profile is very rich and layered.
Yes, to go back to the tree themselves, and it's not the only ingredient where this happens, but you have a lot of terroir effect, because clearly the conditions in which the trees grow on one side of the sea or the other are not the same. For instance, I never saw trees at the level of the sea in Somaliland, which is what I know. Here, what is fantastic, and especially in Wadi Dawkah, and what we're trying to do, is that in Oman, you can see trees at 2,000 meters altitude, and you can see also trees that are almost in the sea, which is absolutely marvelous. And it's something very remarkable that with Matt, we're spending a lot of time to study and trying to understand, because nothing tells us as now that the oil would be exactly the same from the trees of altitude or the trees at the level of the sea. So we got a field of experimentation that is absolutely fantastic here.
And in your experience, is that kind of positioning, being so close to the sea and growing frankincense, is that unique?
To me, it's very unique. And for Carteri, for Boswellia carteri, yes, it's unique.
Okay, that's fascinating. Right, let's jump to Matt for a bit. Now, Matt, before you became the sort of head of this project, the head of this site, had you had any involvement with Amouage before, or did you come to the brand with that role?
So Amouage is a brand and company that I've long admired. In many ways, Amouage is considered the most kind of distinguished brand and company within Oman. And having joined the house, we often say amongst ourselves that Amouage is Oman and Oman is Amouage. But I'm new to it. Renaud and Marco reached out to me around this time last year and gave a sense as to their aims. And I said I would give my right hand to come and join you on this adventure. So no, I'm new to Amouage, but I'm delighted to have joined the team.
So what did they kind of present to you as, like, the number one priority challenge that you needed to conquer first? What was the first thing they wanted you to try and accomplish?
So I think the key priority from day one has been trying to get our sustainability aims and credentials correct. So what that frankly means is the trees. Protecting the trees, ensuring that we are interacting and treating them in a scientific, appropriate, methodical fashion to improve the health, vibrancy of the trees. So really, that was front and center. On the back of that, the next priority is preparing ourselves to create a striking, experiential, rich tourist destination. But that will come in time. The priority for this year has been the trees.
So just on a very, very practical level, what was like the very first thing that you had to do to protect the trees? Was it because I cannot picture this site. Was it literally a case of like fencing them off or something, or putting signs out saying beware?
Because
or
you could think, Darius, that if the tree were in danger, it's probably because they were overtapped or something like that.
Or something, yeah.
It's not the case at all. I mean, Matthew can explain.
So the clear and present danger that our trees have faced at Wadi Dawkah has actually been camel grazing.
Camel grazing.
Camel grazing.
Okay, these are the sorts of stories I love. Tell us about camel grazing. Go on.
I could tell you endless tales of camel grazing and all that accompanies it. But essentially, it quickly became apparent that a fair segment of our trees were being devoured daily by some local camels. And so the first step was to try and engage with the local community appropriately, and then
because I'm guessing this is the sorry to interrupt, but this is the camels' part of their diet, right?
To an extent. To an
Okay.
extent. So what we did, we engaged appropriately with the local community, and then we built a fence to protect a portion of the site. So the camels, their daily routine is not overtly affected, but we have safeguarded a large area so that the trees within it can be replenished, be revitalized, and they can return to their optimum health conditions.
Okay, so not to put words in your mouth, but one of your first jobs was to basically go from one tribe to the next and say, look, I'm really, really sorry. I know that your camels need to sort of feast on these trees, but we need to protect them as well. Can we come to some sort of an agreement? Is that the kind, because you didn't want to fence them off completely, I'm guessing.
Of sorts, yes. I think the advantage we have is because frankincense is very much a symbol of Omani and Dhofari heritage. We are very much working with the grain of society to protect and make increasingly prominent and internationalize a key ingredient of Omani culture. So it wasn't too difficult a conversation. I'm pleased to report.
Okay, are these nomadic tribes?
No. So as you're probably aware, so after oil and gas was discovered in the 1950s, 60s, and the state developed, these tribal groupings settled, put themselves down, but they continue to celebrate their traditions, and camels are still an integral part of Omani identity and culture. So particularly in southern Oman, there are numerous camels dotted all over the south.
Okay, and we need to let the camels have at least a bit of, because the camels clearly have very good taste and go for the highest quality of the frankincense. Renaud, another kind of like maybe obvious, maybe not so obvious question. Why did you think that Amouage should produce their own frankincense?
Because first of all, there is not a lot of frankincense from Oman on the market. So I was talking with the perfumers, and they are not used to this quality of frankincense. They're usually their employers. They, I think, historically work with other qualities of frankincense and so on. So, and they were all saying a little bit like Dominique, this quality, it's a shame that there is not more, I would say, trustable quality of Omani frankincense available out there and so on for everyone to learn how to work with it and to write, formulas with this beautiful quality of frankincense and so on. And I just felt like, if we want a sustainable, first of all, if we want a stable access to frankincense in the long term for Amouage, I think this is the thing to do. And then the second thing is, even if today we have access to frankincense from different actually sellers in Oman, I think there is a big lack of traceability, and the quality we are buying and so on. Sometimes, we might even have some doubts about, okay, is it old? Is it fresh? Is it mixed with lower qualities? Is it mixed with even, gums coming from other countries and so on? And we cannot keep on, analyzing every single batch and so on. So at some point, I think it makes total sense to really try to produce that quality, maybe first for Amouage, and then we need to see in the future, because I see lots of possibilities. And I mean, if we were able to really develop the local economy and so on with that quality of frankincense, I don't see why we could not become, in a way, the best advocates actually for the usage of Omani frankincense around the world.
Okay, fascinating. We're at the half-hour mark, so I should at this point say that you're watching episode 7 of our masterclass series here on the Persolaise YouTube channel, and the people are really, really engaging with this topic, and I'm kind of earmarking lots and lots of very interesting questions, and I want to be able to take as many of them as possible. But one thing that I've got to say, and maybe it's a question for you, Renaud, but obviously Matt and Dominique, feel free to chip in as well. I'm very, very conscious of the fact that, here you are, the three of you, talking about all of this work and UNESCO World Heritage sites and trying to bring tourism in and working with the local population, etc. But we do not have in this chat a single person who is actually Omani here talking to us. So how, first of all, maybe you could tell us, Renaud, why is that, and how does that make you feel? Is that a concern that you have?
I mean, it's obviously always a concern, and it was my concern since day one when I joined Amouage, being actually a foreigner, and then being hired, to take over an important position in an important local company in Oman. And that's also, I think, you need to consider the fact that, I mean, we are part actually of a broader organization where the owners of Amouage are Omani, and there are many actually employees. Particularly, Matthew can give more details about the people actually, involved in the Wadi Dawkah project. Most of them are Omani as well. Unfortunately, most of them are also relatively camera shy, and their English sometimes it's not so perfect. So I'm sure that one day we could potentially convince one to
well,
join
especially
the lab.
if we have Matt translating. But go on.
Of course, Matt is very fluent in Arabic, but I think I mean, I think it's a fair concern. So that's why we need to make sure that ultimately we are serving the local population and the company, the vision of Amouage. I mean, I think one of the main reasons why they went after our profiles is also to create those connections with the broader international fragrance industry. Particularly for this project, I think the outcome of this project would be to create an international, fully transparent, actually, supply of Omani frankincense, and that actually requires, I believe, specific international connections that obviously, I mean, are easier to bring when you come with our background.
Sure, thank you. Dominique, was that something that you were worried about? I mean, it clearly, it's obvious why Amouage would come to you to help with this project, with your experience and your knowledge. But was there a moment where you thought, why don't they ask an Omani person?
Sincerely, no, because that's a situation that you will find in every single country where you have natural perfume ingredients in the world, which is you can have local producers that are purely local, but these people, in most of the cases, are very disconnected from their end clients. and they need people that are sort of go-betweens. So I've done that a lot. I mean, the problem in Madagascar or in Guatemala are pretty much the same. So I think it's all about your own perception of what you can bring and the respect that you can have for the people who have the real knowledge. This is something I really discovered over the years, is the amazing amount. When Renaud is showing the mangaf, what do we know about mangaf? We don't even know why this tool has been kept like this and has not evolved into something mechanical, or I don't know what. And this is due to the fact that these people have the knowledge. So the question is, when you come to a foreign country, to another ingredient, a new supply chain, do you come, as as someone who pretends having the knowledge and will teach them how to do things, or do you come also in all humbleness and to learn what the people have to teach you? And I think if you're able to keep this good balance, then it works, and it works very well.
Okay,
Could
thank
I
you.
maybe add something?
No, go for it, Matt.
Our audience may or may not be aware, but what's tended to happen in Oman over the last 4 or 5 decades is that most employment since the discovery of oil in Oman has either been within the extractive industries, oil and gas, or in the government sector. The opportunity that Amouage is trying to deliver is to take an ancient ingredient, an ancient trade, an ancient practice of harvesting frankincense, then to align that and link that with this remarkable company and the international perfume industry, thereby creating a new, legitimate, international, sophisticated source of employment for Omanis in southern Oman. That is something that we take really seriously, and an opportunity that we're trying day after day to deliver. And that is why, whilst it is of course true that I'm British, that is why we've provided new jobs in the private sector to young men, invariably, who were born and raised either in Wadi Dawkah or immediately next to it. And as the project develops in the coming months and years, they will have access to jobs and training and opportunities that, for whatever reason, have not been available for the last 5 decades. We think that is, we think that's tangible, and we think it's positive, and we think it's meaningful.
And have they given you any feedback on what they think of it? Have they sort of, I don't know, what have they said about the work?
As in, what have they said about the opportunities of gaining employment in the private sector?
I mean, have you had any resistance, or have you mostly had open arms and gratitude?
So Amouage has got a tremendous reputation in Oman for creativity, for providing magical creations that are experienced, appreciated, and respected in Oman, in the region, and internationally. So for a company with such a heritage to do something that is so outside of their comfort zone, to move upstream, to integrate ingredient sourcing, and then to communicate that to the world, talking about local people doing facets of their heritage and culture that they have practiced for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and providing meaningful employment. I think it's fair to say that invariably that's been appreciated.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I want to take some questions from the audience because we have got so many. Some I think are more complex than others. Rachel, a regular viewer, Rachel, at one point was prompted to ask this. She said she by the way also said this is wildly fascinating, were her words. She said, "Does Amouage not do the harvesting? Is it still sourced from the local population?" I'm not sure who's best placed to answer that. Maybe it's you, Matt.
Yes, it is. Okay, so what we have done over the last few months is go out to the local community and find people who are passionate, experienced, and directly integrated into the frankincense ecosystem. And we have sourced our own local employees, and we have asked them and other national bodies and stakeholders how best to leverage their skills so that we can maximize and benefit from their capabilities, but equally that we can treat them as well as we possibly can do. And so that's probably a long way of saying, yes, we employ local Omanis to do the harvesting at Wadi Dawkah.
Okay. I know I've got the feeling maybe you wanted to say something there, or am I wrong?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Question from Caroline, who says, do the frankincense trees have to be a certain age to harvest the resin from them? In addition, does the age of the tree impact on the scent? I think probably Monsieur Roques is best placed to answer that one.
It's an excellent question, which could be extended to all the ingredients coming from what we call the perfume trees. Be it sandalwood, being the various junipers that are used, reality and history show that trees should not or are best yielding when they are 30. Before that, it gets complicated. Now, frankincense.
So just to be clear, you said 30, 30.
30.
Gosh,
now,
okay.
Frankincense is a little bit different because the flow of resin, of liquid resin that flows inside the tree is so important, is so abundant, that even if you take a tree that is 5 or 6 years old and you scratch the bark, in a few seconds, I'm not talking about minutes, in a few seconds, you have the milky pearls appearing at the surface of the wood, which means that the tree is ready to yield and give you some resin. Now, the whole thing is the tree is ready to do it, but is it good for the tree to ask him to do that early? And is it good for its future? And is it going to be, as the question asks, the best resin? I think it's fair to say that ideally for frankincense, I would say that from 10, 15 years old, a tree will give you good results if it's properly managed, and the quality of the oil coming from its resin will be very good. But it's also fair to say that probably if you had the chance to discover a tree untapped of 50 or 80 years old and start tapping it, you may have some amazing results in terms of smell.
What's the oldest tree that you've tapped, Dominique?
Oh, you mean for frankincense or in general?
Yes. No, for frankincense.
It's very difficult to say, and it's passionate discussions with the locals, because it's very difficult to give the age of a tree just looking at it. You've seen some pictures, they have these amazing shapes. So what is really interesting is that usually you get more information about the age of the trees. I'm speaking under the control of Matt, because the people will remember their fathers, their grandfather, or the generation before. So they usually come back with the answer saying, oh, this tree cannot be less than 80 years old, for instance. So I think, but there's no reason that you don't have in the wilderness frankincense trees that are 100 or 150 years old.
Wow. Gosh, Matt, do you know the sort of roughly the ages of the trees on this site?
Yes, so essentially we've got, in some ways, two different sorts of trees at Wadi Dawkah. We have trees that have grown organically in nature over the course of multiple decades. And then there are probably about 3,000 to 4,000 trees that were agriculturally planted about 10 to 15 years ago.
Okay. And so how many trees in total, roughly, are we talking about here?
We've got about 5,000.
Okay.
But what we're very, very much looking forward to is tomorrow is a key day in our journey at Wadi Dawkah, because not only is it the first day of our inaugural harvest season with our new Omani employees leading the charge with the harvesting, but we're also going to be recording all of the data for every single tree, creating what we think is going to be the Islamic world's first smart forest, whereby each and every tree at Wadi Dawkah will have its own unique digital identity, allowing us to record, key data, rough age, height, what have you, but also every single time we tap the tree, what is the quantity of resin that comes from that tap? When do we irrigate? All of those sorts of data points are going to be recorded, which should lead to a whole variety of insights that will obviously help us and the management of the site, but also presumably provide insights more broadly, nationally and arguably internationally as well.
So is this one of the things that you've been doing as well, is going around putting, I don't know, barcodes or chips on all of the trees?
That's exactly what we've been doing. That's exactly what we've been doing.
Renaud, is this why all the Amouage perfumes are becoming so much more expensive, because we're all having to pay for the trees to be chipped?
No, but I personally designed actually the tag that goes on every single tree. So that was
Of course you did. Have you got an image of it for us or something?
I don't think I have one here, but it was designed taking into consideration the fact that the tree is going to grow, that it needs to be relatively sustainable and so on, and that it needs to survive the tough weather conditions as well. So
that is fascinating. So I should also say all the best for tomorrow. Congratulations, and Mabruk, and I hope it all goes well. I guess we're going to see will we see some photos on your Instagram, Renaud, or on the Amouage Instagram?
Well, I don't have the chance to go tomorrow. I'm being sent actually to a boutique opening for Amouage in Dubai. So this is something slightly different, but I'm going to, I need to take a plane. So I'm going to jump on a plane actually to go there a little bit later to see. The season is long, so it's not like the rose, where it's like 3 weeks and then it's over. The season is much longer, so I still have time to go.
So yes, and Amouage's work with rose in Oman is, I think, the subject of a whole other episode. I need to pick some more questions, because I would like the audience to have as many opportunities to ask them as possible. This is one that you may be able to answer very simply, Renaud. Does Amouage also think of maybe doing the same to protect Aquilaria trees in Asia? Have you got your sights set on oud?
Well, so it's not the plan for now. I think we are going to be quite busy with Oman for the years to come. It's a big project, so I'm happy to leave that to someone else. But definitely, when it comes to the sourcing of oud and so on, we need to make sure that we that we partner with the right people locally.
Thank you. I think you've kind of answered this one, but let's ask the question explicitly. This is from another regular viewer, Woozy. Is the frankincense going to be exclusive to Amouage, and are there any plans to wholesale to other brands?
So, in my philosophy since the beginning, I don't think that this should be kept exclusive to Amouage in the long term. Once the quantity is significant enough. So I think the way I see the role of Amouage is first, protect the Wadi and make sure that we have a sustainable sourcing of frankincense, which means not putting too much pressure on the trees, and Matthew and Dominique know that they don't have any any target to say, oh, you need like a very high yield or something like that. It's not at all the objective. So I think as the tree grows, as they grow, and as we have more trees in the Wadi, the quantity should increase. And at some point, I think we will have more than enough for Amouage. And then at that time, I would love actually Amouage to contribute to the economy of Oman by actually, exporting frankincense. And I think people in Oman would be extremely proud to have their frankincense in many perfume creations around the world.
Thank you. This question, another one from Rachel, and I'm guessing this is probably for Dominique. I could be wrong. What are you most concerned about for the future of Omani frankincense? Is it climate change? Is it something else? Is it camels? What could it be?
I don't think climate change is going to interfere very much here. This tree is incredible. I can tell you something. This is a very, very special tree. What it is able to bear with in terms of climate.
Ooh, I don't know whether Dominique and Matt have frozen on your screen. I know. Have they frozen on yours as well?
They look a bit frozen.
It's the camels. It's the camels. The camels are starting to eat through the wires. Sorry, Dominique.
No, so I don't think it's not really a threat on Omani frankincense. It's just at what speed and at what scale is it going to be able to develop and grow? This is the real issue that we're facing, because out there.
So I'm going to interrupt you long enough just to bring in another question, because you may be able to tie your answer. This is from Gavin, who says, the Wadi Dawkah plantation looks about 300 by 400 meters on Google Maps. Will the area be expanded, or maybe other areas created? So let's talk about growth and expansion then.
So the Wadi Dawkah UNESCO World Heritage Site is about 3,500 acres in size. The area that we have protected from herding is about 1,000 acres. What we are looking to do is to firstly improve the health and vibrancy of the trees that are currently at Wadi Dawkah. But in the coming months and years, what we would expect to deliver is what I would kind of refer to as the full life cycle of frankincense. So what you'll see is some sort of tree nursery with seeds, with saplings. You'll see young trees kind of growing and prospering. We increasingly are considering migrating trees that are experiencing chronic difficulties in other locations to Wadi Dawkah, so that we become a protective enclave in the broadest term of the.
Good product placement there, Matt. But anyway, we'll move on.
And then clearly you have the sustainable harvesting using local employees. Then at some point distillation. So in short, we would expect to see quite a significant increase in the number of trees at Wadi Dawkah.
Okay. Thank you. And again, lots and lots of people commenting, saying this is all fascinating. They had no idea this kind of thing was happening. They had no idea this kind of thing was possible. We're nearly at the end of our hour. I know I cannot let you go by bringing up the fact that Amouage is marking quite a big anniversary this year. Because I think the brand turns 40 this year, does it not? 1983 was when gold was launched, except it wasn't even called gold to start with, was it?
No, I think it was called Amouage, ladies, and Amouage gentlemen, because it was only meant to be one product that His late Majesty Sultan Qaboos would gift actually to people visiting the countries. And then it became gold when Amouage created silver, and that's at that time that gold became
Needed
gold.
to differentiate.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you can tease us with that we can expect as a kind of marker of the 40th anniversary?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I think, I mean, I went back in the heritage for the 40th anniversary, and with the idea to maybe, I mean, bring back something as close as possible to its original form. Let's keep it there. So, but that might be like something very very limited, and then Dariush, it's a jubilation. So like 40 years, what happened for 25 years. So maybe something is going to happen to celebrate this jubilation.
Well, you've got Woozy guessing a Jubilation 25 Attar and Milard saying Jubilation Extrait. Dominique, you're going to have to do a bit of product placement as well. We've had one from Matt, we've had several from Renaud. But Renaud, again, just to chat, when will we find out? When will we find out what it is that you've teased us with?
We will find out really soon. I'm probably going to leak something very, very, very soon, and then
Okay.
Then the whole company is going to change their communication plan and so on, and then ultimately people will know about it in a few weeks probably. So yeah, it's aging. Let's say that everything is being aged as we speak, and that we like to to age our fragrances. So I have like my samples.
Oh, this is when we go full screen on Renaud, folks. What are you holding up?
This is when
you're such a tease. Okay, right.
So yeah,
okay.
It's getting actually a beautiful color. So let's see where it goes.
Okay. Thank you very much, gents. My final question to you then is really, and you've sort of partly answered it, is where we're at. So we've got this very, very auspicious day tomorrow, the beginning of the harvest, which is wonderful. The expansion of the site, the expansion of the trees. But at what stage are we actually going to start seeing some of the fruits of these labors, taking pride of place in an Amouage perfume? When do you think that's going to happen?
I mean, realistically, so the harvest is going to happen. So as of tomorrow, for a few months. So it brings us beginning 2024. Then we will proceed with the treatment and the extraction and so on. So by I think fall next year, we should be able to use that quality in products. That's obviously it's going to be relatively small quantities. The first harvest is really, as Matthew explained, more to learn about the site and so on than really exploit the site. But if we wanted to do, a relatively small project, we could potentially, I think, do that next fall.
And Dominique, what are you most looking forward to about your involvement with this work?
I'll tell you very simply that I was here 3 months ago, and we were walking Wadi Dawkah with Matt and looking at trees that had no leaves at all, and we were just wondering with each tree, will it survive or will it die? I visited again. I arrived yesterday. I visited again today. It's all green. It's absolutely fabulous. So the resilience of these trees is amazing, and combined with the work that Matt is really doing with the fencing and the fact that the camels are not eating them. So I'm really looking forward to see these trees progress amazingly in the coming years. And I can tell you, for the future visitors of this beautiful site that's going to be designed and built, it's going to be fascinating to walk through a real, genuine, completely authentic frankincense forest. I'm looking forward to see it myself.
No, absolutely. That's a wonderful image to finish with. Thank you very much, the three of you. By the way, don't go away yet, because I'll sort of stop the broadcast and then we can say goodbye to each other properly. But thank you very much to all of you for watching. Thank you very much for the wonderful questions. Good luck to the three of you for this project. And I think we need to kind of touch base again in maybe 12 months or 18 months time, and you can tell us what progress you've made. And maybe we'll start smelling some perfume that you're cooking up from it, Renaud.
Good. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And stay tuned, as always, to social media for details of more episodes coming your way. But until then, take care, be good. See you soon.